All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Before our session begins at 7:30 tonight, we have several interviews to conduct, and I'm going to set a couple parameters for these because we have several tonight. We're going to try to limit them to about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to ask everyone sort of fairly similar questions. If you're seeking to be appointed for the first time, I'm going to ask you why you're interested in joining, why you think you'd be a good fit, and if you've been following the committee for which you want to be appointed to, what you think is sort of some challenges ahead or some accomplishments that they're working on. And if you're already serving and seeking to be reappointed, I'm going to ask you about your experience on the committee, some of the challenges you've faced while there, some of the accomplishments you've faced while there, and sort of what you see going forward. So that way I don't have to sort of reiterate and ask the questions every single time, and we could move it through fairly quickly. And after you finish giving your sort of presentation or your pitch as to why you want to be appointed or reappointed, we're going to go around, and if council members have questions, we're going to ask those. With all that said, we're just going to start in the order as it's listed on the agenda. So first up is Ian Clark, looking to be appointed to the Economic Development Committee. Ian, come on up.
All right, I think this is on. So just by way of introduction, my name is Ian Clark. I am the Vice President of Strategy and Performance Excellence at South County Hospital, or South County Health. I've been participating now in the Economic Development Committee really as an ad hoc ex officio non-voting member since, I want to say, January or December timeframe. Been participating in that committee as much as possible. In my current role at South County Health, I'm primarily responsible for the development and implementation of strategies that are really intended to drive profitable growth for the system, that really intend to keep South County Hospital as a viable and vibrant health system serving Washington County. My interest in joining the Economic Development Committee really kind of stems to some of my personal and professional interests. My role at South County Hospital right now, I would say one of the greatest privileges that I have had has been developing and operationalizing new service lines that are really intended to promote the health and vitality of the community by reducing the burden of morbidity within the community. So, most recently we've been able to bring back pulmonary medicine services. We've made significant investments within the primary care and other physician practice spaces. We've brought on new robotic technologies, and that's what really interests me. And of course, the financial component of that tends to drive long-term, I would say, economic development for the community in particular. South County right now currently employs, I think, anywhere between 300 to 500 locally residents here in South County. In the Washington County area, the number goes even higher, and we employ about 1,500 to 1,600 individuals in various roles and responsibilities throughout the system. Some of the work that the Economic Development Committee has considered during my time has really been what to do with some of the vacant school buildings. We heard during the last town council meeting their recommendations, and I think what impressed me the most about the Economic Development Committee has really been the due consideration that's been offered of various perspectives throughout the community, and the extraordinary efforts that they went to really kind of evaluate all the different options, and the facilitators of the group meetings, I think, did an excellent job trying to solicit feedback from each member of the Economic Development Committee. So I think that's really why I'm here, and hopefully can contribute valuably to that committee.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for Ian?
I just would, I'm just curious about primary care here in South Kingstown. What's happening with that right here in town?
Yep. So our closest primary care office is Narragansett Primary Care off of Woodruff Avenue. So I think, like many organizations throughout the state, South County has certainly experienced some turnover in some of those very well-established physicians that we've had for a number of years practicing in that primary care space. We've been attempting to backfill a lot of those positions, and long-term, our strategy is really to grow primary care and grow primary care services. We've developed plans actually to consolidate some of our practices further to the north, to the East Greenwich and the Warwick locations, and really bolster those practices by onboarding and recruiting new providers. The majority of those new providers that we're aiming to recruit are advanced practice providers, so your nurse practitioners, your PAs, but it's our hope over the next 2 years that we can recruit an additional 4 providers, some of which would be redeployed to that Narragansett primary care office. So we really intend to double down on primary care, but we do struggle with recruitment.
Can you speak to the recent legislation that was just passed concerning primary care rates, and do you think that may help to solve the issue?
Yeah, I
But
think
before
that,
we dive into that, I don't want to go too far into certain legislation that impacts the hospital or certain activities at the hospital. We want to keep this limited to sort of why you wish to be appointed to the committee. I think you've already established that. We appreciate your time. We do have a number of other interviews we want to conduct, so I sort of want to move this along. But thank you.
okay, thank you.
All right, next up we got Josh Gilman for reappointment to the Economic Development Committee.
Good
Josh,
evening.
welcome.
Good evening, Council. Thank you. So reappointment, I've been serving on the Economic Development Committee since February of last year. I know in the record it showed only 3 out of the 5 meetings, but I just want to state that it was 7 out of the 11 since that period of time, just to be clear. So I think there's a lot of good things that have been going on the Economic Development Committee. People commitment, I think, is number one. The team that's on there, very transparent, straightforward, want to make progress for the town and for the businesses that not only support the town, but people work and live and grow in. The second is the discussion and roundtables that we've had. Most recently, as Ian pointed out, with the question that the council had as far as what to do with the one school building. We know there's other buildings that are out there. Lots of good input from all the committee members and to drive that recommendation to the town council. On the bad side, since you asked that, and I want to be clear on it, is the time. It seems like it takes a lot of time to make things happen. I understand it's local government, but it does take a lot of time. So when we talk about to our neighbors or to other business people about, oh, you've got this recommendation for the school, but it's been a year, or South Road, where we're going on 5 years, maybe 6 years, still nothing's happened. What's going on? You don't really have a good answer to it. And then I think the second piece is from a bad is it's really recommendations only on the Economic Development Committee, right? So we can only provide those recommendations. It's not really action plans or accountability beyond something that's written. So I'd like to see if potentially in the future having that change. So why do I want to stay on? I've asked myself the same question. I could be working on my own business and selling and doing, or spending time with my family, but I really believe that the town and the Economic Development Committee have the best interests going on. Again, the people that are on there, part of our agendas are, talk about a lot of that. How do we make it better for businesses, but also the families that are here trying to either establish or grow their business, or that are coming in to work for a business here in South Kingstown. So,
All right.
hopefully I answer all your questions, Roy.
Absolutely.
All right.
Any questions for Josh? Good.
So I hear what you're saying about working on how to help businesses. Do you ever have like a all business South Kingstown meeting with the Economic Development Commission to like hear from all different people? I mean, you have a list of people here, but do you ever do like a summit, so to speak, so that you could get better input, like from a wider net of business owners? Would that be something that?
From my limited engagement since last February, the answer has been no.
Right.
We've had people join ad hoc to the meetings, but that's pretty much it. But I think it's a great idea to get that, similar to what we did across the street a couple months ago for the
Right.
old Tower Hill Road.
I mean, not to take, I know the chamber does a lot for their own businesses, but not everyone joins the chamber for whatever, but just sort of like to get a wider net of what's important to you, what are your needs, how could we, make better recommendations to the council. Maybe that would be a charge for the new term. I know you have 2 vacancies, and Larry's is not reflected on the website either, so there'll be 3 vacancies, even if you are reappointed, so we can even recruit more members, and maybe that would be an initiative going forward in the next couple years. Like you, I'm very frustrated with the pace sometimes of everything, so.
Yeah, I think so, and I think the other thing that we could provide the town and the town council with is more proactive information, so to be able to see statistics and information of where businesses are either struggling or having to bring employment from other areas to
Right.
fill those vacancies and help us,
Yeah.
either from affordable housing or some other avenue, I think would be very helpful.
So maybe we can look at trying to like adjust some of the charge so that there's some more momentum towards some of the things that they would like to come back to us with more recommendations.
We're certainly open to that.
Just a quick question. When you originally applied last year, you listed EDC as well as zoning. Do you still have an interest in zoning, or are you just focusing on reappointment to EDC?
Reappointment to EDC at this point, I've run out of time and I need to have more personal time. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we got William Murray Gates for reappointment to the Historic District Commission.
Good evening, and thank you very much for consideration of my reappointment. So when I joined the HDC, whatever it was, 3 years ago, I joined with the intent and hope to have the HDC really start to take on its commitment and its responsibilities relative to the historic preservation outside of the Kingston Historic District. The HDC, I think, is best known for what it does from a regulatory standpoint in the Kingston Historic District. It's the only historic district where we have regulatory authority. However, if you look at the comprehensive plan, and I'm sure you all have, there's a lot of things that the town expects the Historic District to do, Historic District Commission to do, vis-a-vis all of the other parts of the town of South Kingstown. So in our attempt to do that, and this gets to one of the challenges, it requires for us to do a number of things, and from the input from the staff, from other boards, and from you folks. And that's the pain point, has been working with those other entities and trying to get in front of you. It was about 18 months ago that I first requested to come in front of the town council to have a proposal, which would allow us to do some of these things that I mentioned. By no fault of your own, but by virtue of having this crazy agenda that you all have, schedule, it's been really difficult. So now we are slated once a year to have an opportunity to come in front of the town council, and I know we can do it outside of that, but it ended up being September, so that whole duration from the time when I first asked to when we're going to be in front of you in September is 18 months. And that's a crazy long time, even in the mechanisms that we all try to deal with in town government. So that's probably one of our biggest challenges is we've got an idea on what we want to do, but getting it implemented requires your participation. And again, I don't blame you for this. It's just you've got a lot of things that you're trying to deal with, but I think we need better communication methods. And I will give a great big kudos to Luke Murray, who reached out to the Historic District Commission and asked us to give input on the town's historic structures. So that was the first time I think somebody came to the Historic District Commission and said, look, you guys have some great expertise. Can you consult with us on what we do with some of these buildings, in terms of its historic preservation? I'd like to see a lot more of that, if possible, is a recognition of the value that the Historic District Commission brings. And I've said this many times coming before you, I think it's our responsibility to remind you what we're here for. Because if you don't hear it from us, you probably, you're not going to hear it. So thank you for the opportunity. I would like to stay on to continue that challenge of improving the communication with the staff, improving communication with the other boards. Also an opportunity, a very difficult thing for us to do, to just get in front of the planning board because of their agenda and scheduling conflicts. And to try to introduce to you folks for your consideration, hopefully in September, the opportunity to not expand our responsibilities, but to finally, take on those responsibilities outside of the Kingston Historic District. Any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to sort of follow up with you on the historical cemetery that was in the gravel pit. So I understand that that Sharon Henderson from your group was able to work with Mr. Fiore, and could you speak a little bit about that? That seems like it's been a real success in terms of a partnership. Like, that property is nicely mowed and maintained now, I believe.
Sure, I'll make it brief. Sharon Henderson is just a citizen outside of the Historic District Commission. She's not part of the Historic District Commission, but she's come before us, and we've tried to support her in her efforts, so kudos to her. I can't comment on Mr. Fiore's involvement. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I've been out there, and it really looks fantastic. So I worked with Sharon and Mr. Fiore to sort of coordinate that, and I think it really looks nice. So he has committed to taking. I didn't realize. I thought Sharon was part of your commission, and she has done such a great job with that project.
Yeah, she's just an overachiever.
Yeah, she gets a lot of the kids involved to help with that as well.
Yeah.
So she has done a lot with that particular property.
I think they say it takes a village.
All right, thank you, Mari.
Okay, thank you. Did you expect us to stick around for any longer, or is that
No,
okay
feel
if we
free to
go?
take off
Okay,
if you wish.
thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. All right, next up, we got Robin Pothier for reappointment to the Planning Board.
Hi, thank you for inviting me tonight. And yes, I do hope that you would reinstate me for the planning board. I started during the pandemic, and it was always a Zoom meeting, and it was hard to learn the machination of the planning board under those circumstances. Whereas now, in the third year, we're in the room together and we can discuss things at the table and just, have an opportunity to ask the right questions. One of the things I found that is most important is the preparation for the meeting, right? We get big packets. I've got one to go finish tonight. And if you don't review that, you miss that opportunity to ask the right questions. So I feel really engaged with it. I really have enjoyed it. And now that I'm really figuring out how it works, I just hope that the planning department and the counselors have been pleased with my performance so far, and I hope to just continue to do even better.
All right, thank you, Robin. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have William Littman for reappointment to the Rec Commission.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm Will Litvin. I'm currently the chairperson of the Recreation Commission, and I've been involved in the Rec Commission, I think maybe for 10 years plus. Sorry, I'm not really sure. But this is my second round of being the chairperson, and over my time on the Rec Commission, we've just been involved in so many great programs and projects here in South Kingstown, including but not limited to our great recreation center that was built, over 5 years ago now, and also under the purview of the Parks and Recreation Department. Some folks may not realize, but the town beach, the senior center, as well as the preschool, and of course all of the Parks and Recreation programming that's run through the Guild. And it's been great. I think a healthy Parks and Recreation department is integral to the happiness of the residents and the taxpayers here in South Kingstown. And I think our staff just does a tremendous job. It's been a joy to be part of all of that. I know that we have a number of projects on the horizon that I'd like to continue to be a part of. Right now, as you may know, Old Mountain Field master planning is currently in process. And of course, with the bond referendum passing on the high school and swapping some of the park's land, there's going to be more work ahead of us, the Curtis Corner site and ball fields and all of that. So I'm happy to continue my service, and hopefully you'll have me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any questions for William?
Will, it just says you applied in July 2012, so you've
Okay.
14 years this year? You've almost 14.
13, 12 years.
It was 2024. Oh, 12.
Yeah.
There you go. So you're
Great.
nearly 12. So
All right. Time flies when you're having fun.
awesome.
Thank you for
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Will.
All right, next up, we got Christine Mueller for appointment to the Sustainability Committee.
Well, thank you for interviewing me this evening. I work mainly on the international level. I'm the secretary of the International Environment Forum. I teach online classes for the Wilmette Institute on sustainable development and climate change. Currently, I'm very busy with a course in Iran for the Baha'i Institute of Higher Education. That's an alternative university for the Baha'i students in Iran who are deprived of higher education as one of many means of oppression. So I also want to make a difference on the local level. It's nice to work, online, but I really would like to, I see the importance of environmental sustainability for the well-being of people and for the well-being even of the economy. Everything is based on that. And so I have watched the Sustainability Committee for a while. I've attended all their discussion forums they had for the community. I attended a meeting several years ago because I had a certain suggestion. I cannot even remember because I have many ideas in that area. And I have attended, I think, 3 meetings now to see what they are up to, and I'm impressed about their effectiveness. Most recently about the accomplishment in composting at the landfill. But in the past, I supported the Solarize South Kingstown project with Rhode Island Interfaith Power and Light because I'm on the board. I've been on the board there forever. So that's about it. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Christine. I think you'll be a great candidate.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right, we do have another candidate who is not on the agenda. Name is Randy Apuzzo. Randy, are you in the audience? He's not here. Okay, he's not. All right, so we'll do that one at the next meeting. All right, that concludes our interviews for tonight. And now we're going to jump right into it. It's a little after 7:30. We're here for our regularly scheduled town council meeting. Today is Monday, June 10. And first order of business, as always, the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on the agenda is the land acknowledgement statement, which I will read. The town of South Kingstown pays homage to the indigenous people and land on which the town is now located. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Narragansett tribe whose land and water we benefit from today. Next, we have the roll call. Susan?
Thank you. Council President McEntee,
Here.
Council Vice President Marin,
Here.
Council Member Bergner,
Here.
Council Member Ali,
Here.
Council Member Sweet.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. All right, it's going to bring us to item 5, approval of minutes of previous meetings.
Motion to approve item 5A, B, and C.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. It's going to bring us to item 6, the consent agenda.
Motion to approve this consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. It's going to bring us to item 7, licenses. A is a resolution granting a Class F 19-hour beverage license to Monsignor Clark School of Tower Hill Road, Wakefield, for the Taste and See event to be held on Saturday, September 21, 2024, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the gymnasium. Application by Sarah Marshall. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Marshall.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Thanks. Yeah, we're just looking forward to our 5th annual Taste and See event. We've been doing this now for 5 years. It's been very successful. A little bit different this year is our honorary chair is our outgoing principal, who is retiring. So we are honoring him at the event and hope to receive our approval once again.
All right, should be a good one.
Thanks. Here to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions?
Just if you want to explain the event, if somebody doesn't know what
Sure.
Taste and See is, that'd be great.
For sure, yeah. It takes place in our gymnasium. We work with local businesses, so Sons of Liberty is part of that, Gray Sale, different vendors in the area. We're working with Jabers, is partnering with us this year. So it is a beer and wine tasting event. There is also food served. We worked with Ginger, formerly from Belmont, and she handles the catering. So it's a really nice community event. It's open to the community. It's largely attended by our parents and our alumni as a way to remain connected with our alum. And it goes from 6 to 10. Everybody that's pouring is tip certified. We have a police officer there present. I am also tip certified. I'm host of the event. So, but yeah, it's really gone well. It's really been successful. It raises a lot of money for the school as well. So,
All right. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 7A.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes.
thank you very much.
All right, that's going to bring us to item 8, new business. A and B. Brian Sylvia, come on up.
Good evening. Before you this evening is the abatement of uncollectible taxes from the 2013 tax roll. Based on Rhode Island General Law 9-1-13, cities and towns have 10 years to collect taxes that are levied. And with that, we have some remaining balances from the 2013 tax roll that are now deemed uncollectible. We have $6,601.11 from motor vehicles, $23,304.15 from tangible, and $866.32 from real estate. And for the total amount of $30,771.58. That may sound like a lot. I do appreciate that the tax collector prepares this for me. And to put that in perspective, the levy from 2013 was $66,924,865. So the $30,000 number that is being abated and deemed uncollectible represents 0.05% of our actual levy from 2013. So the town, the tax collection office, and their partner in this, Rossi Law, has done a great job bringing in the funds for the town.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any questions? Do I hear a motion on this one?
Motion to approve item 8A and 8B.
B is unrelated to what you just spoke
Correct.
of, right?
Yes.
So we'll take A first.
Sorry. Motion to approve item 8A. I didn't have a second. so it's
Second.
fine.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. What do we got here for B, Brian?
So B is our tax resolution for the upcoming fiscal year. What was adopted within the recent budget was a current year tax revenue number of $75,682.0607. That would be broken down into $74,746,250 for real estate and $986,361 for tangible. The levy for the upcoming fiscal year would be $76,660,673. How we're getting from that number to the budget amount is, again, what we deem as uncollectible and abatements. So our collection rate is being set at 98.7%. Within this resolution, we are asking for a tax levy of an amount not to exceed $77,500,000. That exceeds that 76 million number that is our levy. That will allow the tax assessor to issue any supplemental bills as they arise for new developments, additions, things of that nature. The other points of comment in this, I just wanted to note no change obviously to the due dates. They will be August 1st, November 1st, February 1st, and May 1st. I should note, actually, rather, August 1st, 2024, November 1st, 2024, February 1st, 2025, and May 1st, 2025. The only other thing I wanted to note in this, as interest is noted in this or on taxes, I want to take this opportunity to update the council on a legislation that was passed by the council last year, the interest waiver for the one-time up to $500. So from March 2nd last year through the end of March this year, interest waivers have been granted to just under $22,000 to taxpayers that applied and were in compliance with that provision.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any questions? All right, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 8B.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Brian. It's going to bring us to item C. Come on up, Wendy.
Good evening. Okay, so before you today are the credits for Roy Carpenter Beach for tax years 22 and 23. There were 224 plaintiffs in the Roy Carpenter Beach Association that were represented by attorney Jackson Parmenter. Per town council approval last month, we entered into a settlement agreement with this group, and a consent judgment has been filed in Superior Court. This judgment calls for splitting the difference between two assessment codes that were used for the 2021 revaluation for a period of 6 years. For the tax years 22 and 23 that you see before you today, the assessed value for each cottage was taken by using the difference from the new reval cottage code 9RC and the old pre-reval cottage code 9, and then adding back to code 9 at a 33% difference. I know the code sounds strange, but it translates to a base rate. Therefore, a new assessment was arrived at that is higher than the previous revaluation cycle in 2018, but lower than the 254 increase from the 2021 cycle. The total net assessment increase for tax years 22 through 24 after this settlement is $42,733,832 of assessment. Also, as part of the judgment, year 22 credits were reduced by $111.61 per plaintiff, for a total of $25,000 to pay the plaintiff's counsel, which has been paid to date. The same methodology will be used to credit the year 2024. However, we're still in the process of certifying that roll. Hopefully we'll get it done on Friday, and then those will be credited once the 2024 bills are mailed out in July. For tax years 25, 26, and 27, the assessed values for each cottage will be computed by taking the difference between the new reval cottage code 9RC and the old pre-reval cottage code 9, and then adding back to code 9 a 60% difference. These credits will roll out year by year once tax rates have been established and until exhausted. Any questions?
Any questions for Wendy? All right, thank you, Wendy. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 8C.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. It's going to bring us to D and E. Terry Murphy, come on up.
Good evening. As the council knows, we have a senior transportation program for the senior center, which allows for transport of senior residents to and from the senior center and also for grocery shopping and other errands Monday through Friday. That's for anyone 60 years old and older that lives in South Kingstown. We've had in our capital plan the replacement of the senior van for the last several years. We have a 2011 van that is now 13 years old with 189,000 miles on it. We went out to bid for a very similar vehicle, basically an updated model of what we have currently. We looked at the van that we had. We also looked at options for smaller vehicles in order to have more flexibility with drivers. Right now, the van that we utilize requires a CDL with a passenger endorsement. What we discovered was, after really talking with our van driver, who is also a retired RIPTA driver, that the smaller vans just will not accommodate the population that we serve. The larger van like we have now allows for better, easier mobility on and off the vehicle, has 2 wheelchair seats in the back and a rear lift. So we are recommending the same type of vehicle, only an updated version. We did go out to bid. We had 3 bidders. We're recommending Model 1 commercial vehicles. They are the second lowest bidder. The first lowest bidder did not meet our specifications, and that's why we're not recommending AndCo. And so we are recommending the resolution authorize the purchase of the van for $135,048. We are not recommending the trade-ins of either of the vans that we currently have, because we have been advised by our mechanic and also our driver that it's likely that we could get a better trade-in value if we go through Gov Deals, which is one of our vendors that we utilize when we are getting rid of surplus equipment and vehicles. Any questions?
Go ahead.
So I learned that you don't have a driver for the van, so.
That's correct.
I'm looking at the delivery of this new van, and it's about 160 days out. So do you anticipate resolving the driver issue? Because the program is on pause, yet we're going to buy a van, so it's confusing to me.
Absolutely. We have it's a critical program. We're not looking to wait until we get a new vehicle. We've got the job posted. We're seeking applicants. There is a difficulty finding drivers.
Yeah.
There's a shortage nationwide of qualified drivers.
I had a question about the CDLP. So how does one get a CDLP license or endorsement?
They have to go through the state and take the necessary exam and also a driver test in order to get that passenger endorsement. It's not something you can do overnight. So we'd love to have more applicants.
Right. Is there any, and I'm going to look just at Jim for a second, is there anyone in the town employee system that has that CDLP that could pitch in? I mean, I'm assuming that there are a number of residents who relied on the van service who don't have that, so.
So I have one.
You do.
Would you like me to drive that bus? So.
Jim.
I think that sounds great, Jim.
Thursdays
Are you volunteering?
Thursdays with Jim.
So, a CDL with the passenger provision. So CDL licenses, the federal government oversees those. They're very strict. Drug use, alcohol use, speeding, all that. I mean, it's a very tough license to get, but it's a very good license to have. So Terry is right, though. I mean, if you could pick a handful of jobs that are so tough to fill right now, commercial driving, bus driving are some of the toughest for whatever reason. We really would encourage someone who has that ability, who's retired from another community or whatever, that has it, because for us to send someone would be very difficult. The second part is, yes, we have numerous people in town that have CDLs, but not with the P. They drive heavy equipment, they drive larger tractor trailers, and it's all weight limited and so forth. But talking to Terry, we've talked at length about it. We really do need this new bus. The other one's old. It was out of inspection for a while, and it'd be good for a spare, but not as the primary transport. it's money well spent. We have the money budgeted for this, except for a few thousand that we have to dig up somewhere. Is that right, Terry?
It'll come from the fund balance of the senior fund, which is where all of our capital dollars come from anyway. We have $99,000 in capital now, and it's recommended that the balance of the $35,000 will come from the senior fund.
So I agree with you. It might seem a little premature, but it's not. The bus is going to take a while to get here. We will have a driver. And it's a very important program to carry forward.
So how are we serving the seniors who used to rely on the van driver and now we don't, or in a van? What are we doing for that?
So, and Susan could probably speak to this a little
Sorry,
better,
Susan.
but we have, we've recommended the RIPTA Flex program, which is also portal to portal, so it can pick people up and bring them to the senior center. Where we could, we've recommended carpooling for seniors who come. We have a lot of independent drivers that do come to the senior center, and I think there's one other thing, Susan, that you know.
Family have kicked in greatly. Right now, the people that come to the center, we only have one person who is unable to get to the center right now. And she has family, but due to work, they're unable to get her there. We have a total of 10 on and off who come to the center every day. They've all been able to get there. As far as the shoppers, many of them are in senior housing, and they do have the Flex bus that takes them to Walmart. We've engaged with all of them and asked them if there's anything we can do. Neighbors at the senior housing have kicked in. It definitely is a needed program because it gets people out of the house. People don't want to just order online. They don't want to, we're doing everything we can to get a driver. I have been told all over the state, the country, that finding these van drivers is extremely difficult. But our fingers are crossed, and we hope that, there's people out there that, will apply for the job.
You mentioned there's one person that can't get there. Can you just tell maybe what area of town the person lives in?
Confidentiality-wise, I cannot. We speak to her daily. We have a different staff member. She has an exorbitant amount of family in town. She's doing okay. We have also reached out and offered, suggestion of Uber rides. Many families do not want to put their seniors in Uber rides or Lyft or taxis, if you could even get them. They don't want to do that. They don't trust them. So overall, I think the population who use the bus, they're doing okay. They're very eager for the program to come back. But we are keeping in touch with all of them on a regular basis so that they don't feel that they're losing their connection.
I would give her a ride. I don't know if that's there's probably a lot of people that would. Yeah,
and there's a lot of people that would. We don't get involved with that because of liability issues.
I know.
My heart, I would go pick her up, but I can't.
I know.
And they have a lot of family and that they could reach out to.
What about the senior place?
Southern Rhode Island Volunteers does not transport to the senior center.
Okay, all right.
So to go back to the topic at hand, the van is necessary. You're actively recruiting for a driver.
Correct.
And you think that will be resolved?
As soon as we get a pool of people that we can interview, we're on it.
Okay.
Our buses, our 2011 bus is ready to go. The backup bus is ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
They do a great job keeping them on the road. We've had a lot of problems with them. But if we were to get a driver tomorrow, we have the routes. We could get them up and running the next day. And the old bus is ready to go. Should, it happen that quickly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Terry, you said that there's a 16-month lag for getting it anyway?
Yeah, 160 days.
60
Yeah.
days.
So, that time frame alone, we'll have a driver well before we get a new bus.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Do I hear a motion on this one?
Motion to approve item 7-8D.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. It's going to bring us to item E. Terry?
This is a recommendation to purchase a new dishwasher for the senior center. The current dishwasher is 24 years old. It was installed when the building was opened. It is now cost prohibitive in terms of repair. It's not worth it, and we are looking to be able to move ahead with the purchase of a new dishwasher, commercial dishwasher that meets the stringent guidelines for the Department of Health at the senior center kitchen. In the meantime, with the broken dishwasher, we are utilizing disposable paper goods in order to continue to operate the senior nutrition program, but we really do need a new dishwasher as soon as possible, so we're recommending that. And we do have funding in the capital plan. Originally, we had $15,000 budgeted for the parking lot repaving, but in the meantime, we had received the CDBG grant, which will cover 100% of that parking lot project. So we're recommending to reallocate those funds to cover the cost of the dishwasher.
All right. Any questions?
No. Motion to approve item 8E.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. It's going to bring us to item F. Chief Moynihan, come on up.
Good evening. This is a recommendation for an award for contract for our tasers with Axon. Currently, we have 29 tasers that we share amongst the officers, and we're looking to expand that to purchase 48. That would align with our current body-worn camera program that we have. So Axon is our provider for the body-worn cameras, and tasers would link to the cameras. So when a taser was taken out of the holster, then it records that. When it's activated or deployed, it will record all that information. We run into a problem with sharing the 29 now, basically at special events or anytime we're adding extra personnel, if it's URI, football games, in addition with regular patrol, that runs into a problem. So, the best practice is that each officer is assigned a taser as well as a body-worn camera, so that's what we'll be looking to do with this program. So our current tasers expire out of warranty at the end of November of this year. And currently, Axon, they're having a little bit of a supply chain issue, and so they're about 4 to 5 months out with delivery of any replacement. So that's why we're asking for this recommendation for the award now. We currently have about $12,500 budgeted in the fiscal year 25 budget for the TASER program, and the remaining $14,673 we would utilize asset forfeiture money to pay that. The total cost of the program is $240,373, and we look to structure that over a 5-year period. So the first year would be paid with the existing funds that are budgeted, the 12.5, and the remaining being the asset forfeiture. And then the remaining 4 years we would look at within current upcoming budgets from that point forward. So, questions?
Good.
So I just had a question. I absolutely support the tasers, and I think it's great that they're linked to the body-worn camera, and I appreciate that you explained it for the community, because I think people get nervous about tasers and then safety. But I had a question about the federal asset forfeiture funds. Just a question, could you educate us about what the funds could or could not be used for, and have you used them in any other way? I'm just thinking, we just had 2 car accidents with cruisers, and we just bought a new cruiser.
Yes.
What's there?
There are specific restrictions on those funds, so we have state asset forfeiture as well as federal. So it's dependent upon how those funds come in, whether it be for asset forfeiture for drug seizures or, but usually to support law enforcement operations, to equip officers to go out and do their job.
So could we use, I have not really been familiar with the amount of money those in those funds. How often do you get them, and can you use the cruisers that may have damage? One of them's totaled, so is that a place that we could use to replace, or no?
There are areas that we can look at that. We do have already expenses that are annual expenses that are paid out of that asset forfeiture.
Okay.
That we don't include in our regular budget, that licensing fee for our fingerprint machine live scan, so which allows us to transmit fingerprints right to the FBI. That's an annual cost that gets paid out of those funds.
So you have most of those funds earmarked and
Yes.
allocated to other things? Okay.
Yep.
And what about the state funds? What do you use the state?
Same thing, same for different computer programs we have them earmarked for. So
So I'm going to maybe ask a question. What's the balance on those funds? Sorry, Greg.
they're approximately between the two, we're just over 200,000
Okay.
between the two funds, and that's an approximate. I don't know offhand exactly what it is.
Okay. And you said you think I mean, I'm not saying you can do whatever you want with the money, I guess, in some ways, but is the car an acceptable purchase?
It would be supporting law enforcement
So it's anything?
functions, yeah. It wouldn't be just anything, but it would be, you know, if we could make the justification that it's equipping officers to go out and do their job.
Okay. So you said you have about 200,000 in there, and how much, I can't think of the right word. How much is typically transferred in annually from the federal and state?
So right now, we don't have any revenue coming in.
Okay.
So we had an officer that was assigned to the DEA, and so that we were part of asset forfeiture from that. If we do have a case that it ends up that we have a forfeiture as part of the case, but it's really unknown.
Oh, so it's like an unpredictable source revenue?
Exactly. Yep.
Based on?
Some cases are still pending, so federal cases that are pending, so we may still see some money come into that fund, but it's not a steady stream of funds coming in.
Thank you for all that. I had no idea and appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chief, I want to ask you a little bit about how the tasers will be synchronized with the body cam.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So
the
the
tasers before, they were not synced up with the body cam?
No, so these TASER 10s are the most advanced, and this is the thing, we're looking at a 5-year plan, so we really want to look at really the greatest product that they have. But now they have the opportunity that, you know, as I said, if the officer withdraws the TASER, it'll record it on his body-worn camera. So as we go through an incident, we'll be able to really see that on the camera itself of what's happening, because you may not see it, but as the camera is projecting outward, you don't necessarily see what the officer's doing down by the holster area. So it records all that, and currently, no, that doesn't link. That allows that technology.
So for example, if body cam is off and they reach for taser and pull it off, body cam automatically turns on?
Correct.
All
Yeah,
right.
that would be one function of it, but then it would also, you know, record the time that taser was taking out of the holster. So you can really replay it all. And if it was developed to a point where, you know, the body camera is recording an interaction where an officer is speaking with the suspect, then you see when the taser comes out, you know, through the recording, and then if it's ever deployed, you're going to be able to see that timeline right on the camera.
Okay.
Time-stamped.
All right.
Why wouldn't the body cam be on during an incident prior to the taser being pulled out?
In most cases, it could be, but if it's something that's, you know, an officer jumps out of the car and gets into a situation, it'll activate right when the taser is pulled out of the holster.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 8F.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes. All right, that's going to bring us to item G, a resolution approving the town manager's employment agreement. I'm happy to announce that we're going to keep on Jim for another 2 years beyond what his current contract calls for. And I just want to publicly state, you know, it's been a pleasure working with you, Jim. You're a great town manager. You do a great job running the operations of this town. And I I can speak on behalf of the council when I say, we look forward to the continued success that you're going to bring to the table, and we look forward to keep working with you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any thoughts on this? I'll make a motion to approve item G here.
Mr. President, mind if I say a few words before you? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
No.
Go ahead, Jim.
So, did you want to speak next? I thought you were going to vote on it right now, that's why.
I was just surprised that he was making a motion as.
I'm sorry, why don't council finish whatever they could say, and then I'll just finish up. That's fine.
Go ahead, Jim.
All right. So, I've been the town manager here I was sworn in May 2nd of 2022. First I want to thank the two council members who are sitting here tonight that when the original council that voted me in, it was Council Member Deb Bergner and Council President Rory McEntee. You took a chance on me. I was greatly appreciated, and I hoped I lived up to your expectations. I've been in government for 40 years, since 1984. 6 years in federal service, 29 years in state service, 5 years in municipal service between this town and Narragansett. And it's been an honor to serve in every one of those positions I was in. But municipal government is really, to me, not only the most enjoyable, the most rewarding, because it's government's right next to the people you serve. You just can make a decision, and if it goes well, you really help someone, or you have the ability to help someone without going through all this red tape trying to get there. So I really enjoy being a town manager. I think you know that. When I was interviewing, I made some assurances to the town council. I made promises to the council, and one of them was that I'd be fiscally responsible, and I would spend every tax dollar as if it was my own. And it is my own, some of it, because I live here and I pay taxes. So that I'm very proud of, that we run this town, we provide a high level of service at an affordable cost to the town. And we do watch every dollar that is spent. And that is something that I want to impress on the residents, that we watch your money. Everyone, not just me, every director does. Everyone gives me a budget that's realistic and prioritized. And we've demonstrated it. We had a 0% tax increase this year. Many cities and towns struggled to keep under the 4% that is allowed by state law. We had a 0. And that was to prove a point that we watch everything. But that's really the directors that really prioritized, and we're able to keep things fiscally responsible. We're also expecting a $2 million, approximately $2 million surplus this year. And once again, we budgeted, we watched our budget, we saved what we could save, and although the numbers aren't exact yet, and there could be some uses we need them for, we're still running ahead instead of behind. And this is, since I've been here, this is my second budget, this is 2 years in a row we've been doing that. That to me is a success. Once again, the directors save where they can save. I've assembled a team and work with a team that works every day to serve our residents in the best way they can. No matter which department it is, they do. And they work very hard to make sure the residents feel satisfied and that their tax dollars are being spent to help them and to help our town. I will say this, I work very hard every day, as hard as I've ever worked in my life, but I enjoy it. And I come in with one priority, try and find innovative ways to bring revenue and money to this town so it can offset the money that we have to tax people to get what we need. Grant funding is a big one. We're getting some really good things with grants. The staff wrote some great grants. We have a grant writer that's helped us out. But think about this EMS station we're looking to build in Perryville, which is going to serve that whole part of the southern part of the town, which is greatly needed. That's going to come in at about $2 million. That we have $1 million budget through ARPA funds. We were shortfalled $1 million. We got a $1 million grant to offset that. That's a big win category. A mobile command post that we would need for any big event, 4th of July, to if it was a natural disaster or even if it was a tragic event. We have a command post. I can go anywhere in this town, and URI will be sharing it with them, that we can meet the needs of any emergency this town could have. Community Learning Center, that's a big one. That's Peacedale Library. About $2.5 million coming from the state, because the town committed to build a facility that everyone in this town could use to meet certain needs. And a $700,000 grant from our congressional delegation to do the other things that we need. Roofs, heating systems, and so forth. That's just a few. I don't care if it's a $10,000 grant or a $1 million grant. Everything goes to a good cause here. We've also made some big strides this year. The Municipal and Housing Court is up and running. I'm very happy to say that this town is now in control of our own destiny. Before, all the funds for these fines that were brought into the town, and this is not a money-making operation. That's not what it is. But we do generate funds for the state on violations and so forth. But they were going to the state. Now we get our fair share of it. And that'll bring additional funds to this town. The Housing Court is a great example of not a moneymaker by any means. We lose money on that. But it makes the town, it brings the town in control of issues that may have arisen that we don't have to go to Superior Court and wait 2 years to get a ruling on it. I talked to Judge Scholes the other day, and I talked to our building inspectors. They told me that they brought about 6 cases in the past few weeks to the Housing Court, which has been up and running about 2-3 months now, and half we've gotten resolutions within a week that would have taken us months and months and months. And I'm talking like junk vehicles parked on properties or parking issues or whatever. It goes to the Housing Court, the judge decides, and once again, now we're in control of our destiny. We have a short-term rental registry that is still going to be fine-tuned. We have a registry. That's another major step in the right direction for this town in controlling where this is going to go. We're studying a homestead. Not sure that will go, but we're still studying it. We're also studying a 2-tier tax rate. That'll be a policy decision to the council if they want to go down that path at some point in the future. I truly feel the town's on a good path right now. It always has been. I'm not saying it's me. This town's always been on a good path. We're continuing on that path. And I feel more so than ever, continuity is important now. The voters have chosen, democracy has been in place, that we're going to have a new school. 55% of the voters, of 7,700 people that voted for a new school. That is extremely important, to have continuity at all levels in our government, on the school department and in town. We have to build a $150 million school. That's the largest expenditure this town has seen or might ever see. And we have to make sure that it's going to get done right, and we deliver a great product for this town, and the voters will be happy that they voted for that. I'm also convinced any challenge this town could have, we're ready for it. So we have directors, we have emergency personnel, the chief, everyone that can handle anything that comes our way. So I'm respectfully requesting that the official request is that I have about 11 months left on this contract. It be continued 2 years after that, which brings me back to a 3-year contract. So we'll go from May 28th is when it went to executive session of 2024 to May 28th of 2027. So that's the ask I make of the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Go ahead.
Are we going to talk?
Sure.
So I appreciate that you gave all your accomplishments, because you did. We were here in this room. We sat right here. You sat right over there, and we had the interview, and you talked about the municipal court and renters registration. We did talk about the homestead exemption. I know you are an extremely hard worker. You're committed to all of us and helping us get things done. You've responded to a lot of crazy emergencies. Mostly, I think at this point for me, the next 3 years, that school project needs to come in on time and on budget. A lot of people felt differently about the vote and are worried. And so I know you respect that and will be a voice to make sure that the project is done well for students and well for the community. And I think we have had a lot of upheaval on the school side. So I do think that with a new superintendent coming in and some hopefully long-term stability on that side, we can get the project done. That seems to have been one of the most important things for the last 4 years that I've served, is that we get the school done in the right way. So I also think the grant writer and all the grants, really not the grant writer, but the grants have been huge, and you've been able to put South Kingstown in the room to take advantage of some of the grant money, and I appreciate all of that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Not to go and restate everything that people have said, but just very simply, I sleep well at night knowing that Jim, you're at the helm of things in the town, and I'm very happy to extend your contract, and also to suggest that if you retire from there, that I know where you could get a great job driving the bus. So I want to put that in there for
Thursdays with Jim. It's an
I
opening.
think it's really, we could send a video crew with you.
A lot of people could be the town manager, and not everybody can be the van driver.
Just 2 quick points. I think the public perception has been that the town turned a corner in hiring you, and the town appreciates it. And the second is the point that you made about the team around you are superb. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. All right. Jim, I look forward to what the future has in stake for us. I think there's a lot to achieve going forward. I think we've achieved quite a bunch under your leadership as town manager, and I'm excited for all that's ahead here. So let's continue on and let's do great work.
Motion to approve item 8G.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
We had it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. All right, that's going to bring us to
Thank you.
item 9, public comments, formerly known as comments from interested citizens. At this point, I invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any matter whatsoever to come on up. We have a timer over here that will begin counting down from 5 minutes once you begin speaking. But with that said, first come, first serve, and we just ask that you identify yourself. So, anyone interested? Bob, Jim's going to be up. You're going to be next. Come on up, Jim. Come on. Oh, Bob, can you...
turn on the microphone.
Bob Traeger, Succotash Road, for many years. There was a time, I wasn't going to say anything tonight. I was going to try to be good and just be quiet, but what's just transpired the last 5 or 6, 7 minutes, I hope I can get this out in a good way. Anyway, there were many years that I used to go to the Narragansett Town Council and the South Kingstown Town Council meetings, quite a few years in a row. And I like what just happened just now. And I'm not gonna criticize another town, but I think I've already said to this committee the way I feel about the way you run the show, which is, I don't like the word show. You run the business of the town, I think, I don't know how it could be much better. But what I have witnessed here is this town has a town manager, and it did before too, but it has a town manager. And I remember many meetings in Narragansett, and I think I'm not talking 3 or 4 meetings, I'm talking about a lot of meetings. I think I just heard more from the town manager here than I heard in all of the meetings that I went to in that town. Now, whether the town manager had some good stuff to do in the background, maybe so, but when they're in front of the public, and they would be in front of the public in Narragansett, that's a hot town for this meeting. You'll never have a meeting like this where Bob Traeger is the only one that gets up and speaks in Narragansett, I'll guarantee. I'm sure it's probably still like that a little bit. I don't know. I haven't been over there. I don't know if they'd kick me out if I said some of the things I like to say. But they're not bad things either. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to say much more. There's so much going on right now. I'm just encouraging. There's a lot being said about what I talked about a couple of times, the extreme importance of more people communicating with one another about the problems we have in the world, in our country, and wherever. There's so much going on. And the other thing that's coming up all the time now, because I watch a lot of C-SPAN, I watch a lot of committees. This one's run a lot better than a lot of them, let me tell you. The ones in Washington can be pretty nasty. Anyway, the thing I mentioned the last time about the phones and the damage that they've already done to young people in the country. This is a very hot topic right now with a lot. People are picking up on it now. They know about it. They know they're statistically proven what it's done. The question is, how can we curb it in a more positive way? There's no simple answer to it. Nobody has the answer, but it's an answer we need to figure out. And if you become a parent, try to keep that phone away from for as long as you can. That's the way I would look at it, because there's more to it than that. It's complicated, but anyway, it's been an interesting meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Jim O'Neill, Wakefield. And if I may, congratulations, Mr. Manny. Another 3 years. And I really appreciate it because you really run a tight ship, operations from the town. And believe me, it was mentioned that the tide really turned with you being hiring, and I can only tell you that is certainly the truth. Certainly the truth. So congratulations. All right, a couple of complaints. I don't understand why we do not have the enabling legislation in place for a homestead exemption. All during this year, we knew the Muni Court, the registry, everything was going to be done, has been done, and just doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to refer to what's going on in Block Island here, which I think you'll all be interested in. It was on the front page of their newspaper a couple of weeks ago. And I'm really concerned here because with the high school passing, we've got accordingly about $131 million of principal and interest, maybe $7.5 million of bank anticipation notes, an awful lot of money that taxpayers are going to have to cough up. And we really haven't made any start at all in helping the taxpayer. It's an awful lot of money over the next 23 years. And the Homestead Act, I think, is a good start. I think it shows good intention. But if you would just bear with me here, just let me read a couple lines from the Block Island Times so I can be quoted here. What they're going to do, they received their enabling legislation last year. This year, coming up, it's going to be up to 20% that they're going to do. Not a 10. I think Mike was going to look at the 10 rule, but this is Block Island. And I'm quoting, up to 20%, so that the council could adjust it year to year. So the 20% will be the first year for Block Island for the Homestead Act, for those that qualify, owner-occupied. To give you an idea, they give an example here. An exemption for the first year for $1 million home valuation will be $1,088. $1,088 for $1 million valuation. And it was a first step. They all admit it. And the second warden, first warden, whatever they call each other, and they obviously know there's going to be a group that has to make up the difference in taxes. No question about it. So they're giving this a first-year test run. And it's only for residential properties, no multifamily, no commercial, just residential properties. Last year, they got permission, as I mentioned to you, for implementing various property tax rates for different classes of real estate, which you're going to be considering. And Second Ward, Ms. Ball says, we've been talking about the homestead exemption for years. Rory, you and I have been talking about it for 6 years, 2 years, and you know I talk about it every 2 months. And so what she had to say, hey, we have to start somewhere. Quote unquote, we have to start somewhere. Let's do it. So this is Block Island, and I have a couple copies of the front page I can give to the manager. They've gone through the tax rolls. They said they've got about 425 properties who have the island address on their bills, so all the bills. They came up with possibility of 250 possible applicants, and they won't really know until the applications come in by June 28th of this year, be eligible for the fiscal 25 tax year. Very, very important, but it shows you what another community is going through. I don't know who sponsored there. I don't know if our senators did or House folks did, but they got the enabling legislation last year. I don't know why we didn't get it, because we're really heavy into this process here. So lastly, I just wanted to give you an example I picked up from what Mr. Manny brought up last week. Just say the town of South Kingstown has 12,000 occupied properties, home, not land, just 12,000 of them. And he thought maybe 75%. So let's say 9,000 properties. And to help with this bond, they need about $500 a year, these folks. So that's $4.5 million for the 9,000. That leaves 3,000 others of that 12,000. So we have to get from them 3 times. We have to get from those folks $1,500 a year. Some more, some less. So that's $4.5 million. So that's the kind of thing I think you're looking at in South Kingstown, much different than Narragansett, which the manager brought up the last time. But that gives you an idea of the swap that we're going to have to be looking at. And lastly, just back to that $131 million, we really need to start somewhere here. And not just intent, but let's go for it. Let's try it like the Wardens on Block Island said. We've got to try something. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Brett Harrington, Wakefield. Once again, I'd like to commend you, Jim. Great job. It's going to be short and sweet. I like what I'm hearing with the buildings and the building committee, trying to get businesses in here, increase the tax base. That's all well and good. I like that. The closing of the schools. What I'd like you to keep in mind, though, is if you're going to take a building like, I don't know, you're talking about the South Road School, and you're going to turn that into affordable housing. If you're going to put 20 units, say, in one building, and each unit had 2 kids, so that's 40 kids going into the school, increasing the school budget, adding to their needs, and so forth. Think about all of the taxpayers when you're doing something like that, where we that own individual homes, we pay a certain amount, and we all know when you're all lumped into one building, correct me if I'm wrong, that's going to be a lot less than if you had 20 individual affordable houses that you built on that footprint. So that's basically it, because you're talking about how are we going to get more kids in the schools. Let's do this, let's put affordable housing, let's put them in one spot, and that's all well and good, but everybody needs to share it equally. Jim's paying, I'm paying, Bob's paying. Everybody, same tax base, not one lump sum where you can only say, okay, the landlord of that new building only, this is all he's going to pay. And that's not the equivalent of 20 individual houses. So, you know, my recommendation would be if you do want to knock a building down and give it to a developer, say, hey, look, how many affordable houses, individual houses, can you put in that spot so we have the same footprint for everybody else? So that's it.
Thank you.
All right.
I'd like to respond. I don't know. So could we add this to the agenda? Motion to add. I'm going to talk, so you can come back, Brett. It's fine. Motion to add this to agenda so that, because I know there's two of us who are going to say something.
Okay. We got a motion to add. Got a second. All in favor to add?
Aye.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you for bringing it up. So in order for us to really talk to you back, more than one of us, we have to add it to the agenda. So I just wanted to say that we had the conversation with about South Road School a number of months ago, and what we talked about was more of starter homes, and I don't know what the right word is, Patty. Not like retirement homes. I don't want to say older homes, but like retirement homes for people who are maybe downsizing. So the size of the parcel, I don't think we ever talked about taking the school and putting units inside it. We talked about raising the school and then putting X number of units smaller, like maybe 1,200 square feet. So it's the idea isn't really to, we didn't even talk about recruiting school children. We talk about you can't buy a home here. You know, there isn't a $350,000 home in South Kingstown. The average price is closer to $500,000. So if you're a teacher, you're a police officer, you can't live here. You can't be a young college graduate. So to have those starter homes that size and in that location made sense to the four of us. I don't think, Greg, you were here then. So that's kind of where I felt like we landed with South Road. It does take a really long time to sort of work it through, but the purpose is not to create and add to the school system. It's to address the missing parts of housing, not even affordable housing, just the missing parts. So I know you might know that last Wednesday we had the Affordable Housing Forum. I don't know if you got to watch it. I haven't finished. So I heard wonderful things about the Women's Development Corp and how that might be a really great partner to help us bring some housing forward as well.
Well, I know in Coventry, for instance, a lot of the mills, Arkwright, I believe one of the mills in Coventry, a lot of them have turned into housing, and there's a lot of kids going in that building. You know, you've got that old mill that's closed. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, you got the eyesore, let's turn it into housing. That's all well and good. But ultimately, if the majority of these kids go in, you're increasing that school budget. That money's got to come from somewhere. So the individual houses I just spoke of are going to have to put in more money because we've just put, in that situation, more kids into the system. You know, it doesn't cost, $10 per kid.
I totally hear you, but I don't think that was the target audience for that type of housing development. It really would be a young couple or, a young professional who's just starting out, wants the opportunity. You cannot, I don't know if you follow the real estate, it's insane. What people put the price tag on, then what it gets sold for.
No, I sell real estate, so I know exactly what's going on in real estate. So
yeah. Brett, the realtor.
I actually attended the affordable housing meeting last week, and just to sort of build on what Deb was talking about, she absolutely. It's not practical to turn South Road into, probably not, based upon what we've heard. So we're definitely looking more at, what we learned at the Affordable Housing Commission is that we have the Women's Development Corporation. Now they specialize primarily in rentals, and those are at or below 60% of AMIs, but we had Habitat for Humanity in there, and that's where we're talking about building those smaller houses. And the one that that Deb is talking about is the Side Hustle House. I think that's the one that really like captured my imagination. I think hers as well. But basically, it's like this flexible little, so if you picture like a U shape with grass and then like 8 little houses around it, and the houses include in the footprint a space to add on like an addition, like it's already there. So if a young couple buys it and then they have a baby or they have a business, they can build that. And then also, you don't know exactly how this is gonna go, but one potential that we talked about was being able to deliver partially complete houses. So like the upstairs might be an unfinished loft that somebody could work to complete. So I'd really like to see, at least some of those houses. And, the way that we're talking about hopefully being able to do it is to obtain grants to do, to take care of like the infrastructure that we need, the roads, the water, the utilities. And then if we can subsidize that and then allow the homeowners, they're still gonna have a regular mortgage, but the way that it works is that they would lease the property from Habitat. So that's like one way that we learned about doing it, but there's so many different ways, and I really believe that it's only limited by our imaginations.
Well, I'd love to see more affordable housing here. You have that big development up Shannock Road, it's south, it's all condos, it's more of 55 and older. That's what, that bottom line is. Like I said before when I've stepped up here, I would have loved to have been here my entire life, but I raised my family in Coventry. Guys, we all, like I say, yes, great school systems do draw people, but as far as this town's concerned, my opinion, it's a proximity to the ocean, okay? And the numbers that I see out there on a daily basis, you're selling your house today, I've got a buyer. First words out of their mouth is, do I know that you paid $300,000 less for that house 2 or 3 years ago? Who cares? But that's the reality, guys. I mean, my kids, one's in Tennessee, and I don't know where my other one's going to go, but it's not going to be here. It's just.
But they will be able to, though, hopefully. I mean, I have young people, too, and hopefully, I really think that there's going to be a place for them. The workforce.
The state is the housing prices in this state are unbelievable.
But we're going to be able to do some really good things, I think. I really feel optimistic. I mean, it's not going to solve the problem for everybody, but it will make a big difference for some people.
Well, what you're doing with a new house, yes, but the bottom line is when somebody's selling their house, they're going for top dollar. They're not giving anybody a
But we
break.
can put restrictions on them, we can set deed restrictions on how long people have to, all those things can be worked out.
Well, like I say, my main thing was, I'm glad you guys answered it. I just didn't want to see like a closed factory full of, 300 students, and all of a sudden they're paying 5 cents on a dollar to the landlord, and all of a sudden, guess what, guys? The rest of the town, you're going to be paying even more than you thought, because we got all these kids in there, and the money's got to come from somewhere. But
Just to go back to your original comment, what I wanted to add was, we're still very early in the process. The building is being evaluated, the property is being evaluated. We don't have a developer, and we definitely don't have a plan for a single building.
No.
That's a discussion this council hasn't even taken up yet. But I appreciate the point.
Well, like I say, I just wanted to drive the point home that when you guys are making some final decisions on all of these things, I just wanted you to take all of the taxpayers in consideration here, and
absolutely,
because I think at the end of the day, I don't know. I mean, I'm 60 years old. I thought this was going to be my final move. I thought my next move out of this house was going to be a hearse. I don't know, guys, because I'm thinking in 20 years I'm going to be looking at where I'm at, a little over $4,000. I'll be probably around 12, 13 grand by then. But who knows? We'll see. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and speaking.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? All right, we're going to move on. Next for item 10, appointments.
So, would you like me to do it all in one?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So,
I'll just say, we interviewed 6 people tonight. I feel pretty good about all of them. So I'm willing to appoint or reappoint.
I agree. So, do you want me to make the motion and then we'll have a discussion?
Sure.
Okay. So I make a resolution to appoint Ian Clark to the EDC, Joshua Gilman to the EDC, Murray Gates, the Historic District Commission, Robin Pothier reappointed to the Planning Board, Will Litvin reappointed to the Rec Commission, and Christine Muller to the Sustainability Committee.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead.
One of the concerns that I have is appointing people to the EDC. We have a 7th applicant that we said we were going to do next week.
But there's multiple vacancies.
But there's 2 vacancies currently, but we have a 3rd vacancy.
And Larry's.
So that person could fill in that spot.
Yeah. So I was going to say that I think Ian Clark, as a resident, is an excellent addition. I just want to be clear that we're not appointing him in any way to represent South County Health, correct? Because I feel like it's great that he has that job and that he lives in our community and he wants to contribute, but he's not seeking a specific function to in any way advocate for South County Health.
That also I'm totally on board with you on that also, and I see Amy is also nodding.
You always appoint people to serve in their individual capacity unless the council changes the composition of a board or committee to provide, a designee for a specific organization.
Okay, because I think he's a qualified applicant. I just don't want to make it so that it's too influenced by the largest employer in the town and a very important employer, but, don't want to tip it in 2 ways. In other
Well,
ways.
I think it did, well, he did come with his hospital badge on, and dressed in a, attired as though he were representing the hospital. Yeah. So that is a concern.
I'm just going to say that, his experience as Vice President of Strategy at South County Hospital is, some elite experience, something that it's rare to find in town. So someone who represents South County Hospital as a leader is willing to serve in their capacity as a resident on the Economic Development Committee and bring that expertise to the table and sort of give insight into what things that they're doing, but also sort of try to apply that to advance the town as far as economic development. I think that's great. So I don't see any concern as to any conflict bringing him on board here. I think it only serves to help expand, what the Economic Development Committee can do and what they're thinking and strategy that they can apply. So I'm all in. I see no problem with it.
I don't have a problem either because I think he's very qualified. He's not here. But in terms of, we don't want people to assume that we appointed him and he's going to represent the hospital in any way in this board. He's just a resident representing as a resident, volunteering as a resident, correct? That's how I saw it.
I feel like that's important. I mean, I feel everybody that serves on our committees works for somebody, but they're contributing their skills as an individual, not in their official capacity.
I agree. Maybe we're just stating the obvious, but maybe I just wanted to state it for the obvious in this situation because his employment is quite front and center. Most of the other people didn't really.
Which is in part why I feel he is such a great candidate and will be on the group. Any other thoughts on this? Go ahead.
I think ultimately the town council, if he was representing or pushing a hospital agenda, I think the town council would pick up on that and be able to make adjustments.
All right, any other thoughts? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes. That brings us to the
Motion
end
to
here.
adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion to adjourn, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this meeting is over. Thank you all for coming.